Yo, how's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So recently we've spent quite a bit of time talking about the state of Counter-Strike at the pro level and what we need to do to keep lifting up the scene, allowing it to keep growing and maturing and advancing as we get more and more into CS2. And while we spend a lot of time focused on the negative issues within the scene, I think it's equally as important that we highlight the positive efforts that are being made to help facilitate that growth. So today we're here to talk about a new tournament circuit that you need to be watching if you want to see North American CS return to its former glory. The brainchild of Flom, the Mythic League, and Jason Lake of Complexity, the NA Revival Cup is a series of 12 online cash cups that are going to be happening over the course of this year, and the first one just concluded a few days ago. The goal here is simple: help revive the Tier 2 of North America, so that talent, new and old, can help to revive the ecosystem that we've lost over the last few years. These kinds of small, open qualifier tournaments are the bedrock of pro Counter-Strike, so everyone in the scene has a vested interest in making sure this succeeds, and on top of that, it's more pro CS to watch and enjoy. So today, we're going to be taking a look at the finals matchup between NRG and Wildcard, and see who's going to be walking away with the first of many grand finals wins. But before we do, make sure you guys take a second, leave a like, leave a comment down below, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It helps out immensely in the YouTube algorithms, so make sure you do it. While you're down there, consider becoming a channel member for $5 a month. You can support me directly when we do here, get access to videos like this the night before anyone else, as well as a shout out in every video. And lastly, check me out on Twitch, linked in the description down below. And so help me, if you haven't followed me on Twitch yet, you will stub your toe in the next 24 hours. You've been warned. Alright, shenanigans aside, let's talk about these two rosters and how we got here to this grand finals matchup. Wildcard is a North American organization with an international roster being led by one of North America's most tenured in-game leaders in Stanislaw. Stanislaw, for those unfamiliar, was the in-game leader behind that really great Evil Geniuses lineup from 2019. That, of course, most famously won ESL 1 New York that year, and was just a great lineup with Cirque, Breezy, who we'll come back to, Tarek, and Ethan. And while Stanislaw may not have the best reputation in the North American scene, he's definitely a great in-game leader, and honestly, I thought he was older than he actually was. I always thought of him as an older in-game leader, but he's only just turned 30, so he still has a lot left to give to the game, and being with a young organization with a bunch of young players, that's the perfect spot for somebody like Stan. He's going to show these guys what playing under a structured, good system looks like and help them develop their talents into something bigger. As for those young guns, we have the young North American JBA, the two Swedish players Fozzy and Susp, and lastly from South Africa, Sonic. And when you go and look at all of their stats, all of these guys for the last 3 months are well over a 1.1 rating, and just judging by the eye test when they're playing against similar competition, I think there's a lot of potential here. Fozzy looked really good on the op, Sonic felt like he was really good in the clutch and really good at playing bomb sites on CT, and Sus and JBA had timely impact throughout the tournament. Even Stanislaw himself wasn't terrible. He hovered right around a 1.0 rating for the tournament, which is exactly what you want out of a veteran endgame leader. As for their path to the finals, it was actually pretty weird. In their opening series against Party Astronauts, it went 3 games, but all 3 games were blowouts. Ancient was a blowout for Wildcard, Party Astronauts gave it back to him on Inferno, and then Nuke was also a blowout for Wildcard. So they advanced through to the next round, but these games, there's not a whole lot to digest because they were 13-5, 13-6, 13-6. Like, those games are just non-competitive, and there wasn't a whole lot to digest outside of one team was getting blown out. As for their semifinal series against Elevate, it was definitely a little more interesting. Wildcard would get another blowout, beat Elevate 13-5, but then Ancient and Dust 2 were overtime affairs, where Elevate clawed out an overtime win on Ancient, and then Wildcard had to grind out an overtime win on Dust 2 to advance to the finals. The point being, Wildcard had to play a lot more Counter-Strike than NRG, something we'll touch on in a moment, but along the way it felt like their young players really stepped up in the key moments. In the Elevate series, it was JBA who had 63 kills and a 1.31 rating, Fozzy right behind him with great op impact on Dust 2, while against Party Astronauts, it was Sonic who really kept them in it in the latter 2 matches of the set. One thing to criticize for sure, and we'll touch on this more as we break down some rounds from the grand finals in just a little bit, is that Stanislaw's calling on the T side, while I still like it, can be a little bit too slow for my taste. And the problem is when you're dealing with such young players, they're not always going to have the patience or the wherewithal to hold their nerves and clear sights effectively in those really late situations like 20 seconds or less. Just keep that thought in the back of your mind for later on, okay? As for their opponents, NRG, you look at this lineup and it's like a who's who of the best players of North America from yesteryear. We have Automatic, obviously from the Cloud9 major winning lineup. You got Nitro, aka Captain America, arguably the most successful in-game leader North America has ever produced. And Breezy, who was the stud star player of that 2019 Evil Geniuses lineup we just talked about, now trying to make his comeback in CS2. As for the last 2 players, we have Hexed and OC, who are both young players who look really good. HeartZ surprised me throughout this tournament, looks really solid on the rifles. And OC has been around for a few years now, and it's kind of been question marked as like the next big opping talent out of North America. And recently in CS2, he's looked really solid, but we've yet to see him make that leap to like a true tier 1 opping threat. But maybe this is his time to break out. Overall, another really solid lineup, and I'd like to see these guys break through into a qualifier or another bigger tournament because Breezy's looked really good, HeartZ has a lot of potential, Nitro no longer opping, still a great in-game leader in my opinion, so he's no longer holding the most expensive gun, and he's not been a total slouch on the rifles either, Automatic is such a great anchor piece, and OC, like I said, a lot of potential. As for how they got to the grand finals, their series were a lot easier. They 2-0'd both of their opponents in pretty dominant fashion. Just like his namesake, Breezy has been coasting through this tournament. He had a monster 1.76 rating in his first series against Boss, and in the second series, him and HeartZ combined to take over against Nouns. These guys play a simple, tried and true style that Nitro has been perfecting for years. It's loose, it's North American Counter-Strike, it's relying on the star players to take over, and when it works, they look really good. So this finals matchup is really interesting on the surface because you have a much more tactical, controlling in-game leader style from Stanislaw and a much more loose play style from Nitro, so how they clash in the series was really interesting to watch play out. Alright, so getting into our first round here, we're on our first map, Ancient, and to open up on the T side, Wildcard have been playing very methodically, very slowly in pretty much all of their rounds. They're running down the clock, they're wasting utility from NRG, and then they're breaking into sites late in the game, usually around 30 or 40 seconds left on the clock. And after losing Pistol plus the Eco, things were going pretty well. They won their first 3 gun rounds, then conceded one back to NRG, and kind of went back and forth from there until we come up to round 10. Now again, all Wildcard have shown NRG have been slow, methodical plays and late side executes. So opening up here, Wildcard are going to shift things up in a way that I really enjoyed. They're going to abuse NRG's default setup and go for a quick B fake into an A push. Both teams opted to run an interesting CT side setup where they'd have 3 B and 2 mid to prioritize holding off the mid push and the fast B ramp play, leaving A completely open to start the rounds under the assumption that the majority of teams are going to focus on mid, B, or caves to start the rounds over straight going A long in a fast A take. Unfortunately, Wildcard take perfect advantage of that. The round starts and we get a huge exchange of utility into mid and B. Sus P is going to send it straight up B ramp right into the B side, is going to get the pick on Nitro. You know he gets traded out shortly after. That's enough combined with the utility to hold NRG's attention in mid and B. Meanwhile, 3 players are already deep into A long for Wildcard. They're entering the A side, and all NRG can do is wait in donuts for the rotate to come from B and try and push through and retake the site at the post plant. But there's basically no scenario less favorable for the CTs than a 4v4 retake with the bomb down, and NRG aren't going to be able to put together the round, they don't get the picks, and they concede the A site for free. While I really like the intention behind stacking mid and B because it definitely seems worthwhile in my mind, personally, I think the better setup is to have 1 A on anchor, 2 mid, and 2 B. You might be a little bit weaker to the B rush, but I think leaving sites wide open is just not something I'm personally comfortable with. Obviously, I'm not a pro. I think there's a lot of reason for them to do the 2-3 setup. I just don't like it, and in this case, Wildcard took perfect advantage of it. Jumping ahead to round 17, we get a really good example of intel management by NRG here on their T side. We're going to open up here, and Wildcard are going to use a lot of great utility to push NRG back here. We got Smokes, Cave, we got Smokesman, Molotovs everywhere, Flashes, completely stopping NRG from taking aggressive positions past Cave and into middle early. But then, Wildcard I think are going to make a huge mistake here. The smoke red room's going to land, and they're going to pull out a mid completely. They're going to rotate into A and tuck away and no longer keep a sharp eye on mid. They're going to play very passively around the mid presence. Meanwhile, they're going to push into caves to try and counteract and maintain some map control. The problem is, cave is smoked, they have no ID on the NRG players, and then things slow down. NRG takes their time. They're slowly going to clear mid, take control, and make sure that nobody can stop them and be on the fast flank when they try and move into a late B hit. And this is definitely the problem with playing too passive around your mid control on CT Ancient, because right now, 58 seconds on the clock, look where all the wildcard players are. They're run low on utility, and they really don't have any idea how NRG plans to finish this round. They could still go A, they could still go B. It's an equal chance at this point, so you can't really rotate and try and stack, and you don't really have the utility to try and reposition yourself into mid to get some intel. So NRG gets to fully clear mid, make sure the pinch isn't available at all, and then set up for the 5-man B push. And even though Sus is going to have a great forward position here to try and stop this, it's not going to be enough. NRG are going to have a great swing from HeartZ where he's going to get a great double kill on ramp, and even though he's immediately traded out by Fozy with the op, NRG still wins site control. Fozy gets another pick on Breezy, but just like we said in the previous round, even post-plan situations always favor the T side, and even though Wildcard do a good job of getting the picks despite having no utility, Sonic manages to force into a 1v1 at the very end. He loses that last 1v1 and is unable to convert that crucial match point for Wildcard. And NRG would take this momentum and run with it all the way into forcing overtime. I mean, let's rewind briefly back to the beginning of this round. Look at NRG's money situation. If they lose this round, even with the bomb plant, they're broken. If Wildcard wins this round, they're pretty much guaranteed to convert the map thereafter. Instead, there's too much leeway given to NRG and they take it and run with it to keep themselves in this game. However, Wildcard would hang on and win the match in the first overtime. If you want to see the rest of the rounds, I suggest you go watch the full game. It's on the Complexity Twitch channel. And with that, we're going to jump to our second map, Anubis. And on round 7, this is what I was talking about Stanislaw sometimes playing too slow. This round is slow, done absolutely wrong. This round is awful in so many ways, and we're just going to let it play out here. We're going to open up, there's going to be a bunch of traded utility towards mid, Wildcard are going to work down towards water and try and take some A control. They're going to expend a lot of utility to get this A rugs control, but NRG, they're playing back. They're not even bothering to try and contest it. They're holding on to their utility, they're waiting, they're allowing Wildcard to waste their time and their utility. We get to 1:15 on the clock. We're going to pause here for a second. Look at the utility difference, and look how little Wildcard have gone for it. Susp is low, and then you look at the difference in utility. NRG still has a lot of nades, a lot of Molotovs, flashbangs, they still have a handful of smokes. They have enough to continue to contest and waste time while Wildcard has pretty much gained nothing. And you look at what they have left, they're down to 1 Molotov, a handful of grenades, 2 flashes, and their smokes. And it's only going to get worse from here. We're going to hit play and let things go again and again. We're trying to get some map control towards A. NRG aren't biting. We're trying to get some map control towards mid. NRG aren't biting. They're more than willing to wait out the clock here. And once again, here goes our last Molotov. Susp throws in E-Box, gets nothing for it. Doesn't even get the map control into E-Box. He just gets flashed and pushed off, and he backs off. Now, we have no Molotovs, which, by the way, Molotovs, one of the best resources to push B or A. They have none of them. We're running low on smokes. We're starting to run low on time, and we're down to 1 flashbang. Oh, nope, there it goes. No more flashbangs. Now we're down to just smokes. JBA gets picked on A by himself. Now we're getting down to 30 seconds. They have to go to an emergency push B. But hey, no Molotovs for Pillar. None for E-Box. None for Dark. You're walking into the meat grinder, Wildcard. What are you doing? You can't push the sites with no flashes, no smokes, and no hope. This round was awful from start to finish for Wildcard, one of the sloppiest rounds I have seen in this entire Grand Finals, and frankly, they deserve to lose this one. It was mismanaged from start to finish. But hey, we're all about fairness on this channel, and in defense of Wildcard, I think they did some really cool things on their CT side. Let's be honest, the CT side of Anubis is really stifling. Oftentimes it feels like you're just trapped on the sites, and it can be so overwhelming to stop the T side attack. Well, 2 times in this game, Wildcard did something that I actually really like, which was they got super aggressive in the right places. The first example of that is right after they won the pistol round, they knew NRG were pretty liable to force buy and try and win back some momentum, so what did they do here? Well, instead of just playing the sites and playing passive, they go for the all-out rush mid and stop NRG from taking any positive map control. Combine that with swinging 2 M4s through B main as well, you have NRG just totally trapped or outside of their spawn. The MP9s are able to get some kills, the M4s are able to clean it up, and most importantly, it takes the initiative into Wildcard's hands. Instead of letting NRG have the time to work this round and work the T-side map control, Wildcard recognizes that, hey, it's a 7-6 game. If we get eco broken here, NRG are going to go on a run. If we can take this round now, we can keep their economy low, take some extra momentum, and have a better chance of holding off the T-side barrage. After this, both teams would battle out a relatively even half of Counter-Strike, and it would come down to the last round of regulation. 11-12, Wildcard trying to fend off another overtime. The problem is, they're super duper broke. And I'm going to give full credit to Stanislaw and whoever coaches this roster, because this call is ballsy. You're pretty much saying, hey, if we lose, that's fine, let's go to overtime. Let's hit them with something different and just risk it all for the biscuit. Wildcard buy up 4 MP9s with everything they got, and I think you know where this is going. They're going for another stupid rush down mid. And NRG are totally caught off guard, and the individuals for Wildcard, they just win their fights. Sonic gets the MP9 pick towards the stairs, picks up the AK. Breezy is never expecting Sonic to continue pushing around the edge of the smoke. He's expecting him to fall back, play a deep corner, and wait for NRG to make a move. No, Sonic's right up in there, creeps around the edge of the smoke. Breezy gets caught out. It's now a 4v2, 10 seconds into the round. The remaining NRG players are isolated from each other. They have no map control, and they're facing down 4 individuals who are ready to hunt down these last 2 kills. And NRG, newsflash, weren't able to pull off the miracle 2v4 clutch. Wildcard takes the win, they take the series 2-0, and they win the first NA Revival Cup. Overall, a really exciting grand final, and the most important part about this video is I encourage you guys to go watch this tournament for yourselves, and moreover, be ready to support the next ones, because this is what we need in Counter-Strike. We need grassroots, small tournaments to pop up all over the place and start giving a platform to the next generation of Counter-Strike players. Right now, Pro CS is so centralized at the top, we're starting to look like other esports, but the true beauty of CS is that we are a scene built from the bottom up. Right now, there's a lot of power centralized at the top, but our origins are oh so humble, from small tournaments and organizers clawing their way into relevancy to try and make a buck, to now players competing in million-dollar tournaments all over the world. But it's important that we keep the circuit at the bottom alive so we can spread our roots and grow the next generation bit by bit. And over the last few years, those grassroots organizations are falling out more and more, and it's our duty to make sure we keep supporting that so they can stick around and keep the scene alive and healthy. Shout out to Mythic, shout out to Jason Lake, shout out to Flom for hosting an amazing event. Can't wait to see more, and I'll definitely be here covering them as they happen. Alright guys, make sure once again you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. This video was powered by AdvancedGG. If you're watching this the day of release, they've just released a new revamped version of their shortcake flavoring designed to be mixed with milk or milk alternatives, which is a really cool and different way of getting that caffeine fix going. But AdvancedGG isn't just energy supplements. You can pick up hydration formulas, sleep formulas, multivitamins, whatever best suits your dietary and lifestyle needs. So if you take a look and make a purchase, you can use my code LIONS10 at checkout right now for the next 24 hours for 15% off. Afterwards, that's 10% off any purchase you make and lets them know that I sent you their way. Shout out to my channel members, Justin, Jesse, Furley, Bubblesj, and Dr. Cocktor for keeping the lights on. Thank you guys. Other than that, my name is LionHeartZ. I'll see you guys soon with another video. Peace.